Today, we are going to be asking Em to tell us about the ways that living with autoimmune disease can be exhausting. Stay tuned. Em, thank you so much for explaining to us a little bit more about why autoimmune disease or the process of having autoimmune disease can be so exhausting. Can you tell us a little bit more about what this means, or so we can understand a little bit more why it's so exhausting to have autoimmune disease?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Christine. So fatigue is one of the most common symptoms that people with autoimmunity experience. So right off the bat, people are experiencing exhaustion just by virtue of having an autoimmune disease. Then we go into the management of it. Managing an autoimmune disease may mean a lot of extra effort, taking special steps, being a fierce advocate for yourself to get help. Management can be making your own food, staying mobile, applying creams, taking meds, etc., on top of what you're already doing to operate your life. Fatigue can be a side effect of a lot of medications, so it shows up again there. Autoimmunity can also make fatigue worse because living with chronic pain and also these autoimmune symptoms can zap your energy. And having chronic pain can also create depression in people's bodies. That's a natural impact of living with chronic pain, as we do often tend to slide biochemically into a more depressed state. So we want to, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One thing that I was going to say is, like, you're talking about chronic pain, like, how many people don't get a good night's sleep because of chronic pain? So then you're exhausted because you're not getting a good night's sleep, right?
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Like chronic pain, I think of it as like a full-time job.
Yes. Yes. And you don't have the resources energetically to manage it if you're already dealing with fatigue or, like you said, not resting well. So it all kind of piles on. So we want people to know that we recognize that fatigue or exhaustion can make it hard to really engage in changing things. It becomes that sense of, here's one more thing I have to do with this limited amount of energy. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about how you help people or how you help yourself to navigate your needs while also like recognizing that you have limitations.
I really like in the world of chronic pain and chronic pain conditions, there's a metaphor that talks about spoons. And I don't know why it's so helpful. It might be because we don't associate spoons with time or with money in the way that we attach those values to other things. So when we talk about spoons, or people will even reference being a spoonie, the idea is that everything that you need to do in your life takes a certain amount of energy. And so if I'm somebody who says that I'm going to quantify the energy I usually have for a day to be 6 spoons, maybe especially if I'm experiencing some sort of flare. Maybe on a really good day, I'd have 10 spoons, but most days I have 6. And if it takes me a spoon to get out of bed, and it takes me a spoon to feed myself breakfast, and it takes me a spoon to take a shower, then I have 3 spoons left for my entire day. And so when someone invites me to a party or a gathering, happy hour, that might take a resource that I'm going to need in order to feed myself dinner, do my laundry, tend to some task in my family or my home or somewhere else I have obligations. So it's it's a way to just reference my energy is finite. It's not about whether or not I love you or want to hang out with you. It's about a conservation of energy. When we talk about spoons, we can also talk about there's some ways that sometimes we can borrow from the following day, but that means that I know I'll be even more depleted or I'll be less resourced in the following day. And often that kind of way of talking about it can help people who aren't experiencing chronic pain or don't have to really think about managing their energy and how much they can do before they start hurting, can have some compassion using this kind of metaphor for what people are going through, and
Instead of like
we're not rejecting them.
Exactly. Christine always cancels. She's a flake, right? Instead of saying like Christine started the day with 6 spoons and she's out of spoons, so she can't come.
Right. Right. If Christine ends up having a great day, having a 10-spoon day, she might let us know that actually I do want to come.
I have a surplus of spoons today.
Right. 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 Which can be really exciting when that happens for people, but it does help others understand. And sometimes talking about it this way helps it people again not feel like ego rejection, exclusion. So letting people know why we're setting our boundaries can really help people have compassion as well around why those boundaries exist. I have boundaries around I do much better with my autoimmune disease if I don't drink alcohol. And so if people invite me out for something that's really focused on having drinks, I don't join, but I let them know, like, I'd love to hang out with you, and that's not a good fit for me. As
like,
far as
let's grab a tea, or let's go for a walk, or
with the dog, or maybe my energy is better earlier in the day. By the end of the day, I really am running on fumes. So not that you have to explain yourself to everyone, and be real wary of people who ask you always to explain yourself when you're setting a boundary. But it can be a gift to let people know, like, I'm tending to my health. I'm hoping that eventually, if I do this long enough, that I will feel healthy, I will feel vibrant, and there are things that when I get to that place, stuff in my social calendar might open up. But let people know that you're really caring for yourself. And if people push back against that, that's a really concerning message that you deserve to know about people in your life.
I know so many people don't feel comfortable setting those boundaries, or they feel squishy about saying no to something, even though it's within our right to say no to something, but they might feel like they're obligated to try to do something. And so I like to give my clients permission to say, my doctor told me that I needed to not take on any additional, tasks or jobs at this time. And so even if it's just them, setting a boundary that is almost an artificial boundary. I mean, yes, I want people to take care of themselves, but being able to say, oh, no, I promised my doctor that I wouldn't overdo it because I'm trying to help my health. And so sometimes that helps in a situation where they don't feel comfortable saying no, to blame it on somebody else. And I welcome anybody to say, somebody has advised me to not take this on if you're not yet comfortable standing up for yourself. But a spoon metaphor takes a lot of that emotion out of it, hopefully, so that people, like you were saying, no hurt feelings, and just saying, like, my energy is finite. I need you to know this. It's not about how much I love you or how much I want to spend time with you.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Really powerful, right? I think that it's so helpful, and good boundary setting, while it's hard for a lot of us, because a lot of us were raised to not have good boundaries or not say no. We were told that good people say yes. And I'd like to dissuade you of that, because if you're not being good to yourself, then you're probably giving away your energy to other people. And that's not sustainable. For a lot of us, that's part of the stress that predicated our autoimmune disease. And so, I love your giving people their own authority to use your authority, to
Just in
set
case.
boundaries. But what I find with most people is, even if you're nervous, starting to set some boundaries, maybe with the people who are safest to do it, and then work out from it. It's like a muscle. You develop this strength. When you stand up for yourself, you remind yourself how valuable you are. We're all born lovable and worthy. And when you treat yourself like you are, it improves your relationship with yourself. And I think that's really important. So it's a big opportunity. And I know that I liked your words, like squishy for people around it.
Yeah. That is an awesome explanation of why living with autoimmune disease can be exhausting, but also a little bit of tips for trying to manage it and trying to help to double down on self-love and self-care. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
Okay.
thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we post new content.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook and other social media.